Bob.
Gentlemen, as you well know, what happens in Washington affects us here in Tennessee. The Trump trade policy has resulted in tariffs on aluminum, steel, and soybeans. Now, Tennessee's elected Republican senators, both of them an elected governor, have said that these trade policies are hurting Tennessee, which voted for President Trump, maybe more so than any other state, especially the automobile industry, washing machine industry, and Tennessee farmers. The end result could be higher prices for Tennessee-made products like cars and washing machines. The tariffs could also lead to layoffs and production reductions. As governor, what can you do to offset some of the hurt that these tariffs are having on Tennessee products? Mr. Dean?
Well, I think one of the things we can do, obviously you should speak out as governor and say what is best for our state, and hopefully the president listens. But one thing we need to do as a state is always work on economic development. It's something I did a lot of as mayor of Nashville. I think one thing the state could look at is always thinking strategically about how we diversify our economy and how we don't have, we will always have some sectors that are doing very, very well. I think that is absolutely essential. I mean, long term, I think we have to take ownership of our own problems, be creative, find solutions, and be aggressive about our own economic development. And the key part of that, to me, is workforce development. That is the issue, I think, for the future. People always talk about incentives, but I think Tennessee is so well positioned. Our issue is going to be is whether we can develop the workforce here that will allow us to continue to attract great jobs and get it spread around the state. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Fitzhugh?
This policy really worries me because I don't think it has economic foundations that are good. I'm not an economist, but I'm more of a free trade guy than an isolationist, and I'm also a rural guy, and I know right now it's hurting our farmers. Farmers are booking soybeans, and they're booking them at 20 to 25% less than they did, and there's not that much profit margin in them. So, and the steel is the same way. It's going to have an effect. We can spread that out a little because we don't have the only companies the only factories of a particular company in a state. So, but they're going to hurt us. And I think we as a state need to look at these industries and say, for the short term, until Mr. Trump comes to his senses, that we'll try to help our farmers. We'll try to help the automotive industry to get through this period of time until it it's clearly proven that they're not the right thing to do. We've done that before when we had people in an emergency situation in a flood. We've done it with farmers before with the tobacco settlement. So I think we need to see if we can't make sure those industries just don't go down the tubes because of this.
As a follow-up, what as a governor and along with your ECD commissioner could you do to help these industries and farmers find markets that aren't part of the tariff, that aren't being part of that tariff? Mr. Dean?
Well, I think you've got to work aggressively with ECD to try to find other markets. I mean, clearly, you know, what I've been reading about soybeans recently is Brazil is coming out as sort of the big winner in this because their markets have expanded, but they're also buying lower-priced goods from the United States. And so I think any sort of help, aid, expertise the state can provide, we should provide it, and we probably should set up something within ECD that is specifically designed to give farmers the most up-to-date information they need.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Fitzhugh?
I agree with that, and I would also say, you know, Tennessee is moving toward medicinal cannabis. I think if that can be proven to be something that's appropriate, and I think it is, if it's suggested by a doctor, it's regulated, and it's taxed, then that might be an opening for a farmer to go into that business. Now, I hope it doesn't take that long for these trade policies to change, but if not, that's something that we need to look at.
Thank you, gentlemen.